The football season is here. It is in full effect. We're heading into full week number 2 of college football. NFL week 1 is upon us. And with that, I would like to introduce you to the spread offense. Now, this is a weekly feature we are going to do here on 580 Sports Talk YouTube with a handful of picks against the spread for the NFL and also our Big 12 picks of the week, as heard every Friday afternoon on 580 Sports Talk during the college football season. We're going to get to every pick featuring a Big 12 team against an FBS opponent, and we've got 5 NFL picks against the spread for you going into this weekend as well. Of course, because we live in the state of Kansas, and you may be viewing this in another state with arcane laws that don't allow you to gamble on sports, even though it's a completely baffling and terrible decision for the finances of each individual state that chooses not to. These are for entertainment purposes only. Before we get to this week's picks, I want to say a quick shout out and welcome in the new members of the Big 12. It'll be just 2 years before Cincinnati, UCF, BYU, and Houston are members of the spread offense and will be picked along with the KUs, K-States, Iowa States, etc. of the world. It was made official on Friday morning. The Big 12 has invited those 4 aforementioned schools to be a part of the Big 12 conference, and they're going to join for the 2023 season, meaning that there's just 2 more years, this one and 2022, that's going to feature the current state of the Big 12 before the new members come in. I, for one, am extremely thrilled of what Big 12 3.0 is going to look like. I can't wait for road trips to Cincinnati, for UCF to come to town, to see what crazy games are going to be like late at night in Provo against BYU, etc. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great football conference. It's going to be the best basketball conference. So Cincinnati, UCF, BYU, Houston, welcome to the Big 12. You guys actually want to be here, and we're happy that you actually want to be here as well. Without further ado, let's get to our picks against the spread for the Big 12 this week. We'll start with the Friday night game, and man, this one is somewhat brutal for many different reasons. The Kansas Jayhawks, 1-0 on the season after beating South Dakota, taking on the 1-0, 17th ranked Coastal Carolina Chanticleers on the Teal Field down in Conway, South Carolina. KU is a 26.5 point underdog on the road down in Conway. That is absolutely massive. Coastal Carolina deserves it, by the way. They've been arguably the best G5 program in the country next to Cincinnati since last season and into this season already. They have a team that has a legitimate shot at a New Year's Six bowl. KU also deserves it because we all know KU has been terrible for more than a decade at this point. 26.5 points for a G5 against a Power 5, no matter who that Power 5 team is, really does seem like a lot. I'm willing to be a homer in this one. I think KU keeps it within 26 points. So give me the Jayhawks in this one as a 26.5 point underdog. Next up, a battle of Oklahoma teams. Tulsa versus Oklahoma State. The Cowboys are going to get Spencer Sanders back. And while I'm not a huge proponent of Spencer Sanders, obviously that is a better situation for them than having to try to back up out on the field. You compare that to Tulsa, which lost to another FCS team last week, falling to UC Davis. UC Davis, very good California FCS team. Not nearly as talented as, say, Oklahoma State. I've got the Pokes in this one. They're a 13-point favorite. I'm willing to take all of those for the Cowboys in Stillwater. Cal is coming to North Texas and Fort Worth, Amon G. Carter Stadium, to take on the TCU Horned Frogs on Saturday. Cal is getting 11 points in this one. I like Justin Wilcox as a coach, but I don't see the Golden Bears taking down the Horned Frogs in this one. TCU has been something of a weird team in recent years. I'm not sure if they're on the precipice of being good, if they're actually not a very good team that's actually outperforming because of good coaching. Maybe Gary Patterson has lost his fastball a little bit. Whatever the case is, I am high on TCU this year. Give me the Horned Frogs minus 11 at home against a Pac-12 opponent. The big game of the weekend, one of the premier games on the college football schedule. In fact, Paul Meyerberg of USA Today told 580 Sports Talk on Thursday this week, it is his number one game of the weekend, 10 versus 9, Iowa going to Ames to take on Iowa State for the Cyhawk game, El Asico, in what I think is going to be a classic of a game because, frankly, Iowa State, more often than not, does seem to be at least some kind of classic, good or bad. Iowa was absolutely dominant against what I thought was a good Indiana team in week one. Meanwhile, Iowa State faltered against Northern Iowa, still coming away with a win, but struggling against an in-state FCS opponent. Northern Iowa is a good program. Iowa State also in recent years has started off slowly. You can look back to last year. You can look back the last several years, considering the Cyclones always play the Hawkeyes week 2, and they've lost several years in a row. Iowa was so dominant a week ago. I am going to give more credence to that than the struggles Iowa State had against Northern Iowa. I am going to pick the Hawkeyes in this one. I think Iowa can win, and I think they will win, taking down Iowa State. Iowa getting 4 points. Give me the Hawkeyes on the road in Ames. Our final Big 12 game we are picking this week, the number 15 ranked Texas Longhorns, game 2 under Steve Sarkisian. They are headed east to take on a former Southwest Conference foe in Arkansas. Arkansas had a very impressive comeback to knock off, albeit Rice, last week, with Rice completely falling apart down the stretch. Sam Pittman has started to develop a positive culture for that Arkansas team. Texas looked impressive in week 1 as well, though, taking down a very talented and capable and well-coached Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns team by 20 points in Austin. I think this is going to be a surprisingly close game. I think that Arkansas is going to be up for the challenge at home, underdog, Power 5 versus Power 5. I'm going to take the Hogs getting 7 at home because we're only going to do FBS versus FBS opponents for our picks against the spread for our Big 12 picks this year. We're not going to pick the games today for Kansas State, Texas Tech, Baylor, or West Virginia, as all 4 of those are taking on FCS teams coming up this weekend. Now for our NFL picks, we are going to have 5 picks against the spread for you this week and every single week here on the Spread Offense. We're going to start with the noon slate on Sunday. The San Francisco 49ers, an 8-point favorite on the road, taking on the Detroit Lions, and there is absolutely nothing in the world that would make me pick Detroit in this game. This Detroit roster is absolutely awful. San Francisco, on the other hand, has a great roster. San Francisco has better coaching, better quarterback play, pretty much better everything than Detroit has. I know Detroit is in a rebuilding process. I know that a lot of Detroit fans, blindly or not, have a lot of faith that their team is going to turn things around. I'm taking San Francisco. I know it's a big spread for an NFL game. I'm not thinking twice. Give me the 49ers -8. Down south, Philadelphia on the road taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Philadelphia, I think, is going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. I do not think Jalen Hurts is going to be an especially good NFL quarterback. I know Atlanta has not been good the last couple of years either. They've got a new coach, but they've still got enough offensive talent playing at home. I think the Falcons take care of business against the Eagles. Give me Atlanta -3 at home. Now for the afternoon games on Sunday, we will start with Kansas City at home at GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium, taking on the Cleveland Browns in maybe arguably the most hyped matchup of week 1. It's the big game on CBS. Chiefs are a 5.5-point favorite, and I'm going to go with the home team in this one. I think Kansas City has too much firepower, even for Cleveland. I know that was a topic of dumb debate on Twitter this week. Oh, the Browns have better offense and better coaching and all that. Well, they don't. Andy Reid, generally speaking, is going to win every single coaching matchup, at least on paper. The team with Patrick Mahomes getting less than a touchdown at home. I know the Browns are a good team. I know they've improved a lot. I know 5.5 is fairly sizable for an NFL game. I'm still going to go with the Chiefs. I think they've earned that right. Give me Chiefs -5.5. Green Bay going down to Jacksonville to take on the New Orleans Saints. That game was moved out of the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans because of the effects of Hurricane Ida. Obviously, our thoughts continue to go out to everyone in the Gulf region right now as they continue to clean up from another natural disaster in that area. As for the game itself, taking place in Jacksonville, I really don't see an avenue for New Orleans to win this game. I know the Packers are going to have a somewhat new look offensive line. 2 young players are going to start. You've got a center, you've got a right guard, both of whom in Josh Myers and in Royce O'Neal are inexperienced to say the least. This team obviously has enough faith in them. They're going to be able to hold up against this Saints pass rush. The Packers offense, I think, is going to put up an absolute ton of points in this game. I do not think famous Jameis Winston and the Saints can keep up. So give me Packers -3.5 on the road in what's effectively a neutral site game against the Saints in Jacksonville, Florida. Finally, an upset pick for you as well. Coming up Monday Night Football Week 1, the Baltimore Ravens, the extremely banged up Baltimore Ravens are going to Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. I like the Raiders +4 in this one. That place is going to be rocking for the first fully attended Raiders game in the new stadium in Las Vegas. Baltimore has been so destroyed by injuries over the past couple of weeks. Losing Marcus Peters in the secondary, that is going to be a massive blow for that team. He's got his issues, but man, he is a playmaker and he is a magnet for turnovers. So you lose Marcus Peters, you lose J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill. Now your running game is going to depend on Lamar Jackson, which is a good thing, but also maybe Le'Veon Bell and Devonta Freeman going forward. I don't love that. Tough game to start the year. I'm going to take the Raiders +4 at home against Baltimore coming up on Monday Night Football. That does it for the first edition of the Spread Offense here on 580 Sports Talk YouTube. We appreciate you joining us for some picks this week. Again, of course, because we're here in the state of Kansas, this is just for entertainment purposes only. We hope you will join us coming up next week and throughout the college and NFL seasons as we continue to pick games against the spread here on the Spread Offense. Don't forget to subscribe to 580 Sports Talk on YouTube and tune into 580 Sports Talk every weekday from 2 to 6 on 580 WIBW and FM News 104.9 in Topeka.